Well, hello. She's Bronya.
And she's Sammie.
And today we're here to speak to Kate Tynan.
We've got another guest!
Yeah. If you listen to our previous episodes, Kate Tynan is a favourite of ours. We talk about you every now and then.
We do.
So you're a guest on episode 86, and we spoke about the Cake Business Club, which is cake business coaching for ambitious cake designs. I stole that off your website. You've come a long way since we last spoke to you in May 23. You have over 2,000 followers on Facebook. I'm not sure if it was 3,000 or 2,000, but it's pretty good anyway.
Is that
in the club?
I'm not sure. Is that in my free Facebook group? Or
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'm mostly on Instagram. That's my I'm mainly just post on there.
So it's the Facebook group, A Bigger Slice, the Cake Collective. But today we're going to be talking about Cake Biz Fest and Cake Business Foundations, both happening relatively soon. Well, quite soon, really, in the next month or so.
Better pull my finger out.
So you're super busy as always. So hello, Kate, and thank you for talking to us today.
Hello.
What have you been up to since we last spoke to you?
I know, I checked before when it was I last spoken to you. It was like May 23.
Wow.
So it's nearly 2 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Time flies so fast. But when I recorded that last episode, I was still running Little Button Bakery alongside the Cake Business Club. So I recorded it in my studio, I remember. And now that is no more.
Wow.
So Little Button Bakery is no more. So sort of in the October of 2023, I decided to close. Well, I did close the doors of Little Button Bakery, and now I'm fully full time in the Cake Business Club.
Is that because the club just took over your time? Is that
pretty
what
much?
It was?
Yeah, it grew so fast in the first year, much faster than I was kind of anticipating it was going to. And I realised that I was sort of dividing my time between obviously doing the cake business and that, and I was never fully going to be able to do them both. It was kind of going to have to be a half-hearted attempt almost at running both businesses. And because of how fast the Cake Business Club grew, I thought, well, there's clearly a need for this and a demand for it. And the feedback I was getting off everyone was so lovely that I just had to make a decision, really. It was a scary one to make because obviously I'd run Little Button Bakery for 11 years at that point.
Yeah, I can imagine it must heart must have been racing.
I know, it was. And it was, it wasn't that I didn't enjoy doing that either. I loved it and I loved doing the wedding cakes and I got my own lovely studio and really enjoyed working in there. And so it was a really tough decision, but sometimes you've just got to make strategic business decisions. And I could see that the Cake Business Club had a lot of growth in it. And obviously with my cake business, there's a limit to how many cakes you can do on your own. Yeah. And I'd kind of already reached that point. So there wasn't really much further I could go with that, apart from diversifying into other things or doing more teaching or, I'd started to host guest tutors and things before COVID hit. And then obviously that kind of put a damper on that for a bit. But so I just thought, well, let's take a risk and just see how it goes. What's the worst that can happen? I could always come back to the cake business if I needed to. But it's just continued to grow and grow and grow since then. So now I'm completely full-time doing that. And absolutely love it.
You don't have your studio, so you now work from home?
I now work from home, yeah.
All right.
So I just
How's that? Is that nice to be at home or is it?
It's nice, yeah. It is nice. And I think my husband works from home as well, so I'm here with him. I haven't got an official office as such. I work from my dining room, which I am now, but I look out onto the garden. I have toyed with the idea of getting a little studio or something in the garden, but I actually don't know if I'd want to be on my own garden. I think I'd miss being in the house. So, and I've got my dogs and they like being around me and it's one of those. I think for now I'm happy just working from here. If my husband ever goes back to an office, I'll steal his actual office off him. But for now, I've got my own little office in my dining room. So
Perfect.
yeah, it's
Perfect.
nice.
Lovely. So for anyone who hasn't listened to your previous episode, just tell us briefly what the business club is, the Cake Business Club is, and how you came to start it, because you obviously still had your thriving business at the time, but you thought, you dip in and do it.
Okay, so the Cake Business Club it's a monthly membership for cake makers at any stage of the cake making journey, really. I work with cake makers who are right at the beginning of the journey, some who have been in business for 10 years plus. So it's purely around the business side of running a cake business. So I don't teach any cake decorating or recipes or anything like that. We purely look at how to run a cake business and how to run it better, make it work better for you, turn over more profit, sort out your pricing, marketing, everything like that. So in a nutshell, that's what the Cake Business Club is. It's a monthly membership, so people pay me a monthly fee to be part of it. I also do coach people one-to-one now as well. So usually have around 10 one-to-one clients at any one time. And a lot of those often are people who've been in the Cake Business Club and then have decided they want to kind of step up the support. Because whilst I can be super supportive in the Cake Business Club, there's a limit to what you can do personally for each person. I can't delve deeply into people's individual businesses. I get to know them over time, and it's great. The longer you're in the club, the better, really, because I get to know people's businesses. I can think more like personally about the things they're asking me, and I can direct things to them. You know, if it's something I feel like they'd benefit from, the more I get to know them. So it's great. Like, I've still got some of my founding members with me. So when I set the club up in October 2022, had 50 founding members. And I've still got a fairly large chunk of them, maybe 25, 30 still with me. So that's great, that they're still here over 2 years later.
Well, that says something that they're still learning. There's, still learning, or they're still enjoying the support all this time later.
Yeah, absolutely. So it kind of all came about, really. I guess mostly COVID kind of happened and made me think, my business was pretty much like wiped out overnight. Mm-hmm. So I had to diversify and, do different things that I wouldn't normally do to keep afloat and keep myself out there. But I had a lot of press in COVID. So I got a lot of news articles. I was on the TV. I was on a panel discussion on Sky News with Holly Tucker of Not on the High Street, in the papers. I spoke out a lot about the wedding industry. And I had a lot of people obviously kind of messaging me and asking me things about business and maybe what they should do and for advice and things like that. And I was like, well, usually there wasn't really anything I couldn't answer. So people were asking me questions. I have got a business background myself. I've got a business studies degree. I used to be a primary school teacher as well before cakes. So I've kind of combined all of those things now into the Cake Business Club. But I did a course with Lisa Johnson. I don't know if any of you know her, about like passive income, like one-to-many course, thinking about how I could maybe help cake makers to develop their businesses. So I did that. Then I set up the Bigger Slice the Cake Collective group, the free Facebook group that I have. And I ran that for about a year before I even started talking about the Cake Business Club, really, just to see how my advice fell on people's ears, whether they were happy to listen to what I had to say. I tested out a few like low cost things for people to buy. I did a couple of standalone courses just to see, were people willing to buy off me? And is this something I could do? Then I decided, right, I'm going for this. And I launched the Cake Business Club. I did a kind of challenge, a 5-day challenge to sort of kick it off. And then I had 50 founding member spaces available at the end of the challenge. And literally while I was still delivering the challenge, as soon as I talked about it, people were signing up. And within 12 hours, all 50 founding member spaces had gone.
Wow.
So it was like a massive, it was a great success, like the launch. And and then I've just kind of continued to do little mini challenges and things since then to get a bit of awareness, show people who I am and what I can do for them, because not everyone knows who you are. You get a lot of new people coming into your world. And then once they know I know what I'm talking about, they're more willing to kind of think, actually, she knows what she's doing. I maybe want to work with her. How can I do that? Oh, well, here you go. You can come into the Cake Business Club. So yeah, that's sort of how it's all come about, really. Yeah.
How many members do you have now in the club?
So I've got around 120-ish currently. It ebbs and flows. It sort of, some join, some leave. You know, people decide. Sometimes they've got out of it what they need, which is great, and they can go off and fly solo, which is fabulous. You know, they feel confident to go off and do their own thing. Some people, you know, just want to come in for a few months and then sort of take a little break, and they might come back again. I do sometimes get returning members.
Excellent.
And sometimes people, you know, over time change direction, or the business changes slightly and maybe they don't need that level of support anymore. So yeah, it's sort of a constant up and down in terms of member numbers.
But that's quite nice, because that feels like a proper community rather than too many. You don't want too many there, do you, really?
No, I mean, I think I'd like to grow it a little bit more. I mean, I think if I could get to around 200 members, that would feel good. And I potentially would cap it at that, I think. I feel I want to be there for the members and obviously help them. And the more members are asking me questions, obviously the harder it is for me to answer them all in depth.
Oh God, I didn't think about that.
Yeah. So the Facebook group's pretty. My Facebook group that goes alongside with the club is a private group for the members, and it's pretty active in the, like, I get asked quite a few questions every day, and I'm very, very active in the group. Like, I won't let a question go unanswered. So I will always answer. The other members are great though as well. They all give their advice, because as I said, they're all at different levels. So they've all got different levels of experience. They all do different things. Some have got shops, some do markets, some are working from home, some are working from a studio. So, you know, there's a massive range of different cake makers in the group. But it's lovely. There's such a nice community. Like, there's nobody in there that's like nasty, and there's no bitching or backstabbing, which sometimes in the cake industry, like, not all the time, but there is a bit of that, you know. And it's not really nice, is it, when that happens? So definitely,
everyone we talk to, they say, you know, there's certain Facebook groups or certain sort of like parts of the industry, it's like, just stay away from them, because it can be just so horrible, and it's just unnecessary.
Yeah. And if there ever was anything like that, you know, I wouldn't accept it anyway. But I just don't think, I don't seem to attract people who are like that. So
well, that's good.
Which is nice. You vibe brings your tribe.
How often do you open your doors to the Cake Business Club? Because there's a waiting list, isn't there?
There is currently. The doors are currently shut, and it's a waiting list situation. I was doing my big challenges kind of quarterly. So after that, I then open the doors maybe for 4 or 5 days, and then people can come in. I did last year do quite a few I ran my pricing masterclass quite a few times, and did a kind of mini opening for those people who'd attended that, if they wanted to come in off the back of the pricing masterclass. And even though there is a waiting list, if people go on the waiting list, I'll reach out to them personally and just see where they're up to, why they're interested in coming in the club, if it is something that I feel they would benefit from. And it's not necessarily right for every single person. And I'm not for, you know, just taking everybody for like money's sake, if you like. It's got to be right for them, because I want them to get something out of it, as well as obviously me to be able to help them. So I will have a conversation with people, and if it is a good fit and they're keen to get going, like, I don't want to have to hold someone back for months till the doors are open again.
Right.
I will kind of, you know, let people in sort of on an ad hoc basis. So I suppose kind of I'm assessing whether they're the right fit for the club. And if they are, then I'm happy to let them in. Because when I've done a challenge, I talk about the club quite a lot. I show people things like there's more hype around it. Whereas when people sometimes join the waiting list, they might have not thoroughly looked at what the club is, what it can offer. So sometimes it just needs a bit of a conversation around it. And, you know, to decide if it is the right fit for them. So I do try and do that, try and kind of personally reach out to people who've joined the waiting list and see if it is something that will help them.
Yeah. Wonderful. So you are starting to plan, you've got something in planning for new cake or new businesses, haven't you? So tell us about that, because that sounds quite exciting, I think.
Yeah. So it's something I've been like thinking about for probably near enough a year now. As part of my kind of marketing strategy over the last year, I've been running ads to my challenges and things to kind of grow my audience a bit that way. And what I've found by doing that is I'm attracting a lot of very new cake makers. So maybe even ones who are just at the thinking stage. So they're thinking about whether they want to start a cake business, or they may be just in that very early stages. And sometimes the actual main club isn't necessarily right for them.
Yeah.
A, it's maybe a cost investment that they're not ready to make right now. But B, some of the content in there, depending on the person and how proactive they are and how keen they are to progress, might be like a little bit overwhelming, I suppose, in a way.
Yeah.
It's very sort of personal, depends on the person. So, but for most people in the club, they don't need the kind of basics of how to set a cake business up. Like, these are the basics of running social media. These are the basics of marketing. These are like what you need to think about with pricing and everything that goes alongside, setting up a cake business. So my thoughts are that I need to kind of fill a gap there, because there's a huge amount of people who've come into my world who I know I can help, but possibly aren't quite ready for the Cake Business Club. They need something a little bit more stripped back, and that is also a sort of more friendly price point, if you like.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them will never have invested in anything before. They won't have invested in the business growth. Some of them haven't even got a business yet to invest in.
Yeah.
So asking them to invest in the Cake Business Club, which is £67 a month, feels a little bit hard for them. And that's kind of something that I hear a lot, like it's something they can't do right at this moment. So I feel like something that's more low cost and also completely aimed at cake makers in the first 0 to 12 months of business is something that would be really beneficial for me to introduce. So I'm going to set up the Cake Business Club Foundations, it's going to be called, and it'll be more self-paced. So the club is all live training from me and guest experts, and we have at least 1 to 2 sessions a week, usually 1, but a couple of weeks we have 2. But this will be more, it'll be pre-recorded training from me that you'll work through, but then also there'll be an element of they can come and speak to me live. So maybe a monthly Q&A session and possibly a Facebook group to go alongside it as well. So they have got a way of contacting me for help, but it will be more hands-off than the Cake Business Club. So that's my kind of thinking at the moment. And I've been planning it all out and mapping out what content I should be including. Obviously, it's ended up getting massive the list.
Because where do you end?
It's right, stop. We need to stop here now. That's more advanced. But even when you start thinking about the basics, there's so much to cover.
I think that's a great idea, because so many. I mean, we've all been there ourselves. We've all been that cake maker that's gone, oh, should we just sell a few cupcakes? Or should we just do this? And then all of a sudden you're completely overwhelmed with food registration and insurances and all the technical stuff. It's I just want to make cakes. And I think it's an excellent way to
because it's with me, because I'm thinking of branching away from cakes and getting a waffle van where I'm going to sell cakes and do waffles, and that's it's the same but completely different. So it's I can understand that.
I feel like it's something that is needed, just from what I've learned over the last year and the conversations I've had with people who've come into my challenges, and I can see kind of they're not possibly ready for the main club yet. But there's a lot of things they don't know and need to know to be able to get their business set up more successfully. That it's got a greater chance of success, because most cake makers who set up, like you say, they start off doing a few cupcakes or whatever, and then it's suddenly they're running a business and they're just completely winging it. I speak to so many.
We've all been there.
But it's how are you expected to know all of these things? Unless somebody tells you. And obviously I've been I ran my business for 11 years and I started out not knowing what the hell I was doing. I learned it all myself, and the reason why I've built the Cake Business Club in a ways because I wish I'd had something very much like that to support me through
that's exactly
my
why
journey.
we started this podcast. It's like, because we've all made mistakes. We're still making mistakes every day, and we still chat through with them, so people know that, you know,
yeah, absolutely,
this is real life, you know.
Yeah, and I make mistakes, and I talk about it in my weekly emails, like when I make things, like I made a really bad investment in my business the other week, and I talked about it, like why it was bad loss, like, and things happen, like you can't always do everything perfectly, so you've got to take the rough with the smooth. But I think just having that bit of guidance from someone who does actually know what they're talking about, because there's so much you can Google things, but it might not be the right advice, or someone tells you
you're getting it from another country,
which is obviously not necessarily the same as how we do things in England, so in the United Kingdom. But it's just I know it's a bit of a minefield, so I want to kind of make it easier for people, and then hopefully after people had worked through foundations, they'd kind of almost be like, it's a natural progression then, if they wanted to continue the business coaching journey, to come into the Cake Business Club then. And then obviously
you're known and trusted to them by then as well.
Exactly. Yeah. Because you can't, investing in someone who you've never seen before in your life, like it's you can't expect people to do that. Like, who are you? You don't know anything about this person.
Yeah,
exactly. So, sometimes I'll invest like, 5-10 quid in something that pops up in my Facebook feed from someone I've never heard of, but I'm like, this sounds interesting. I'll take a punt on a fiver.
Yeah.
But it's most people, like, even £5-10 for some people feels a bit like it's sort of, I don't want to waste that money, and so that's my newest kind of addition. I think I'm going to be working on this year to grow that. Exciting.
Do you have a launch date, or is it just still planning?
I'm still planning, but I'm hoping within the next couple of months. So by like April-ish, May time, I'm hoping that I will have
Which
get
is
it.
Perfect,
I just need to start recording.
That's like the start of cake season then as well, isn't it? It's like the start of the big season. Yeah.
But it'll be something people can just come in at any point. Like, it won't be, we start on, the end of April and it runs for, it'll be, you can come in and then you'll just work through it at your own pace. That's kind of my latest edition.
Exciting.
So looking on your reviews, there are so many that are just glowing about all that you've helped them with. Have you got a particular favourite? Are there too many to mention?
I mean, it's so hard to choose one particular person. Like, I'm so proud of all of my members, and many of them are achieving like success in certain things every single week, and I ask them to share like the wins with me on a Friday, and some of the things they're coming back with, I'm like, yes, like, but it could be something like literally putting themselves out there, taking a step forwards that they would never have done before joining the club, like maybe approaching a wedding planner, or contacting a venue about becoming a recommended supplier, or approaching a cafe about becoming a wholesale supplier, like all of these kind of things that they were holding themselves back from doing before, and now feel confident to go and like try. Because I always say, like, what is the worst that can happen? If the worst that can happen is you get ghosted, or they say no. Like, but if you don't ask, you don't get.
But we're all terrified, aren't we? We're all terrified of it.
But I get it. It's scary doing things. Like, I get scared doing things. Like, I know I'm perfectly fine talking to you guys, but if you put me in front of a room of people, like to speak in front of a crowd, I would be absolutely like pooping myself speaking in public. But then this year I'm trying to like aim to get myself out there and speak more, even though it feels scary. So, sometimes you've just got to do it, and the more you do things, the easier it gets. So that's definitely what I see with the members in the club. They're doing things that put themselves out of the comfort zone on a weekly basis and having good results off doing that. So even though it felt scary to them, they've done it, and then something good's happened off the back of it, which, it's great, and you can't put a price on that. And I just absolutely love them telling me the things they've been achieving. And even some of my members who've like flown the nest, who are achieving great things, some of them have reached a point where they're ready to go solo and like fly on their own. And when they are, they're soaring, they're completely like, continuing that growth, continuing to put themselves out there and make changes. And it's so lovely to see. And they keep in touch with me, and, it's great to hear what everybody is up to and the amazing things that they're doing. So yeah, I couldn't pick one particular person, if I'm honest, like, 'cause I'm so proud of all of them. And, it's a privilege really to be able to help people with their businesses. And I love the fact that they've taken a chance and come and work with me, and it's paying off. They are achieving great things through doing it. And it's such a rewarding job. Like, I loved making cakes, and that was really rewarding. Getting lovely feedback from couples who've loved the wedding cake, and all the guests love it. Like, you can't, it's a feeling, that's amazing. But also hearing that I have sort of facilitated changes in people, whether that's a little change or a big change, and it's gone on to do something great. It's just, I love it. I absolutely love it. And I love getting
when you
feedback.
first started making cakes, you'd have never have thought that you'd have turned into the person that you are today.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
No, and it was never really the plan. As I said, I don't think, if COVID hadn't have happened, I absolutely don't think I would be doing this now, because my plan before COVID was I was going to spend half my year doing wedding cakes in busy wedding season, and the other half I was going to do teaching or getting guest teachers to come, and I was going to facilitate, classes. Like, I started out and I had like, Isabel from Designer Cake Company and Dominique from Poppy Pickering, and I did the classic, like I facilitated the classes, and I was loving that. I thought, this is the way I'm going to go. I'm going to have half my year doing this, half my year doing this. Then COVID hit, and I was like, well, none of this can happen now.
No.
Just made me sort of reassess things. And even then, it was never my intention to give up the cakes and just do this. But because of how quickly it grew, I really did just have to make a choice.
Yeah.
It's either I do each thing half-heartedly, or I put all my eggs in one basket and bloody go for it and just see what can happen.
Yeah. COVID was the great leveler, wasn't it? It's the thing that's kind of leveled a lot of people and gone, no, this is where we've got to go with this. And which I think is, it was a horrible time, but I wonder if it hadn't have happened, would we all be as happy as we are doing the things we're doing? I don't know. Sorry, a bit philosophical.
I know, it's coming up to like the 5-year anniversary.
I know.
It's in March,
nuts.
Isn't it?
Absolutely nuts.
Oh my gosh,
yeah. I think it's around the 15th or something like that. I think it is. So I remember that very vividly, because I had a wedding cake, and the cake was ready to be delivered. And obviously he called lockdown at 6:00 on the Friday, and the wedding was on the Saturday morning, so it couldn't go ahead.
Did you deliver the cake? Because I've heard people that did deliver the cake. Some people didn't. They just donated it somewhere, or
I took some of it to the couple and the macaron favours that I'd made, and then some went to a school, some went to a hospital. I took some to a care home, but they had a bit of it. They did actually get married like 3 years later.
That's good.
And they thought they were originally going to have the exact same thing that they'd had, but then they decided to have something completely different. So, which actually I think is quite nice to do something different.
Because I went to a food festival. I was selling at a food festival the weekend before, but I think everyone knew that it was coming, so no one was going out.
Yeah.
So I came home from that food festival with so much stock. But the school, it was still a week. We still had a week. And I lived next door, but went to a school. So the school had so much cake that week. It was like, just have all my cake, because I didn't know what to do with it at the time. It's just, it was nuts.
Maybe that was the beginnings of the cake shed. Like,
feed the community.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, so you have got something else that you are planning as well. So you've previously done the I find this so hard to say, Cake Biz Fest. The Cake Biz Fest. And you're talking about doing it again. So what is it? And how's it going to look this time round? So
I did it last year for the first time. It was like just an idea I had, and I was like, right, let's just run with it. And it was an online festival for cake makers. So there were 9 training sessions over 3 days. So we did like one in the morning, one around lunchtime, one a little bit later in the afternoon, over 3 days. And I had over 1,500 cake makers sign up to it.
Wow.
So it was great, and it was all free. So I delivered 2 of the sessions, and then I had sort of other amazing business owners delivering the other ones. So we had like a session on SEO, we had one on taking better photographs, one on kind of finding your ideal client through like a psychology kind of focused session. I can't remember off the top of my head what else we had, but it was great, like really good. It was kind of, because in the Cake Business Club, I have a guest expert every month, and you were my guest.
I
Bronya.
was, yes.
You came in and talked to us about starting your own cake shed.
Such good fun.
Yeah, it was great. I loved it. It made me want to start my own cake shed. So it's kind of like that. I thought, right, well, this is what the members get. Like, let's bring it out, into the wider cake community and just see, show people what kind of other training there is, and like what other things you can learn about business that are not necessarily from a cake maker and from somebody else in business. So I did that. It was May last year I did it, and it was great. I had a great response from it. Everyone really enjoyed it. So I'm planning on doing it again this year, possibly in May again, or maybe April if I can pull my finger out and get it organised, because I know May time people start getting busy with weddings and everything. So if I can try and get it, and if I can coordinate it to get the Cake Business Club foundations all set up and ready to go, obviously people have got a choice then about whether they choose to come into that or whether they want to come and join me in the club.
You've got a busy couple of months coming, haven't you?
I know, it's a lot. So I'm intending on doing it again. Last year it was completely free. I am thinking about making a small charge for it this year, just because it was a huge amount of work to set up and like a whole week.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Also, I put a lot of money behind ads to run an ad campaign to it to raise awareness. So I'm not talking about a crazy amount of money, but what I have noticed is when you do things for free, people are all keen and eager to sign up, but then they don't. Some of them show up, but lots of them don't. Whereas I feel like if you've put your hand in your pocket and paid something, even if it's a small amount, like 10 quid, you're more likely to show up to the thing. And actually, you'll learn so much if you do. Like, it'll be like, why? It's a no-brainer to kind of do it. So, I'm thinking of something.
It's just putting that value on it. It's just making people aware that there is a value to it, rather than,
absolutely.
Of course there's value to it, but by making someone pay a little bit, it's like an actual monetary value to go with it.
I just think it changes the mindset shift a bit.
It does.
And it might be that I don't get as many people signing up because there might be a small fee to it. But then, some of the people who signed up maybe didn't watch the training and they missed out. Whereas if they do pay a little fee to come along, and then, they'll hopefully show up and think, yes, this is actually like so good. Like what I've learned from this, was well worth my like tenner, investment. So that's what I'm going to do. And it'll probably be, April, May time, I think.
Right.
So I've got a busy few months.
A very busy couple of months.
Get all this content recorded for the foundations and then organise the Cake Biz Fest. But mostly it'll be other people delivering the sessions for Cake Biz Fest. It's just the organisation of it all, coordinating.
Will you do 3 days again? Will it be another 3-dayer or?
Possibly, or maybe even 5 days, but 2 sessions a day maybe, because I know some people said last time that they felt like maybe 3 was a bit much to kind of show up to. So I don't know, I might get a bit of feedback on that before I do it. Like, what would people prefer? Would they prefer 3 days? Would they prefer 5 days? Did
people have to turn up, or did you record the sessions, or was it you had to be there live to see it?
I did. They were all on Zoom, so people could show up live. But then I did send out recordings of the sessions after for a limited time. Like, they had recordings for a bit, and then I did give the option of people buying the recording bundle at the end for like lifetime access. However, if you're in the Cake Business Club, I've put all the sessions in there anyway. So all my members have got the access to the Cake Biz Fest 2024 sessions, and they won't be, my Cake Business Club members will get free access to the Cake Biz Fest. So, my members do get kind of extra perks of being members. They get that, and they get discounts on my sort of tools. They get discounts on one-to-one coaching with me. And this year I'm also, or I don't know if you've seen it on my stories, but I'm doing a retreat in November. So yeah, I've got a 3-day retreat, which is a members only retreat. So I've got 15 members and me in a beautiful house in the Lake District, not the Lake District, the Peak District, which looks amazing. Private chef, like activities and business focus and wellness focus and all that. So it'll be lovely. So but that's just, my first one as well of that. Another thing I'm doing this year.
But I mean, because I went on a retreat. It was actually the February before COVID, and it was just before, and it was lots of wedding suppliers, and so I think there was about 20 of us.
Yeah,
it was genuinely one of the best things I've ever done for my business, because just sitting with other small business owners, chatting through what they're doing, how they're going about things, even without like the little workshops and things we did, just being there with those people was just amazing. It just, absolutely. I learned so much, because everyone's got a different take on the world, haven't they?
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be really, I'm really looking forward to it. And
yes,
it'd be nice to see some of my members like in person as well, and for them to meet each other, because lots of them talk and like they might not have ever met in person. Yeah. I did meet a few of them.
I love it when that happens and you spend a lot of time going, I know you.
I know, yeah. I've got some naughty ones though who are coming and like I have to rein them in a bit. We've got a WhatsApp chat for it, and like I'm like, nope, we're not doing that.
But you did have a meet up at Cake International, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I met up with probably like 16 or so of my members at Cake International. So I went along to Birmingham and met up with them, and that was really lovely. Just seeing them in the flesh, and like most of them I'd never met in person. I feel like I know them though. It's one of those, like, because I see them all the time on the club sessions, and some of them I've worked with one-to-one, so I've seen them more. And I don't think you can beat that in-person connection.
No, definitely
and you do,
not.
like you say, you get a lot out of casual conversations, like you say, and like ones that, you know, not necessarily business focused, but you might pick up little ideas or just sharing thoughts and things, which it's difficult to do, isn't it, over Zoom, and you know, you can't always get that same sort of connection. So
just sitting and having a cuppa with someone, it means, you know, it's worth so much. Really is.
So you've also been a judge for the Wedding Industry Awards as well, haven't you?
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure when we spoke to you in May 23, you just started doing it, or that was your first time? I'm not sure.
It might have been, yeah. So I think this is the 3rd year I've done judging for it now this year.
So what do you judge?
So I only judged the wedding cake category, thank God, because it'd be an absolutely ridiculous task if it was the whole of the Wedding Industry Awards. So I judge the regional entries, so pretty much every person who enters, which is again quite a mammoth task. So I have to read all of their applications and decide kind of who I want to award. You award like a gold, silver, bronze, and then they equate to points, and all the judges' points get added together, and then it's sort of decided who the winner is and who the like highly commended is. So the judges, we don't confer with each other, it's all done individually.
Oh, that's interesting.
And you have guidance to help you judge, but also I look at things a lot from a business focus as well. So I look like at websites and social media and kind of look at it with my business head on. And I look at like plans for growth and, you know, ambition and what people's kind of plans are for the future. So that's, potentially I look at things in a slightly different way.
So how much time do you spend doing that? Because, you know...
It's a good few hours. We don't get paid for it, unfortunately. But, it's... I don't know. It's hard to say. It depends on how many entries there are as well. And some of the entries are like much more in depth than others. Right. Some people write, loads. Some people just write a sentence. Some people submit loads of photos. Some people seem to forget the photos. So sometimes you can whittle down the entrance depending on what they've put. Because if you're going to enter an award, you need to put in a bit of effort into your application and give me some detail. Like, don't tell me one sentence. So, probably a bit brutal. Like, if you're not going to put the effort in, like, I'm sorry, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be honest, a photo is the bare minimum, really, isn't it? Let's face it. You know, it's a cake, it's a visual thing. Let's see it.
Yeah. Some people put videos in, so like you've got to watch the little videos, and some of them are lovely. Like one made me cry one year watching it. And I was like, that's so lovely. Like the passion that came across. Yeah. I was just like, that's just, you know, that's what I want to see. Like this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And obviously you've got to have cake skills as well. You know, there's a line, and you know what, like, is the cake looking good? Is it nicely presented? Is it neat and tidy? Is it straight? You know, all of that kind of stuff.
Or if it's wonky, is it meant to be wonky?
Yeah. So there's all of that. So I do all the regional judging, and then once the regional winners have been selected, we judge the national. All of the winners then go through to nationals, and we look at them again and then decide gold, silver, bronze again, and then obviously and I don't know who's actually going to win until it's announced, because the judges don't confer, and there's about, I think it's about 8 judges in the cake category. And that's all
announced at the ceremony.
Yeah, it's all announced at the ceremony. Do
you get to go?
I can go along to them. That's one perk of being a judge. You can go along to the awards nights for free, including the nationals in London. But I didn't actually go this year because the date just didn't align with when I could go. I went to the Northwest one last year, but I think I had 5 of my club members who were through to the finals, the Northwest finals. So I went to support them as well. And it is quite hard, I guess, being a judge, because I'm encouraging them to put themselves out there, and lots of them do into the awards, but I just have to remain like really impartial.
Do you know who they are? So are they? Is it you do know? Yeah. So it's not an anonymous entry. No, you do know, right? Okay.
I know who they are because I've got to look at the businesses, you know, the social media and the website and everything. Yeah. So yeah, we do know who they are. There used to be like you had to send in samples of cake and stuff like that, but they stopped that. Mostly because of me, I think, because I was always feeding back to Damien, the organizer, about this isn't fair that cake makers have to do like this, all this extra stuff. And like the other entrants do, like when I entered, because I won national, and no, I didn't win nationals, I won the regionals 3 times for my region. And one year I had to courier a cake down south to Squire's Kitchen. And Dominique from Poppy Pickering shared my courier. She drove her cake over to me. Wow. And then we couriered these 2 cakes. I mean, it cost an absolute fortune.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And they had to be real cake as well, not dummy cakes. It all had to be real. And it got tasted and looked at Squire's. And I was just like, come on now. Like,
this is a lot.
This is a lot. Like, you know, I want to win, but like, you know, it's costing me an absolute arm and a leg, this. Like, I don't live anywhere near Squire's Kitchen. And then it was the year after that, you had to do a cake based to a mood board, but it was a dummy cake and you could photograph it and send the images in. But then eventually he's knocked that on the head as well, and it's purely just based on judges. But what I like about the Wedding Industry Awards is that it's based on couples. Only your couples can vote for you, and they can only vote once. And it's real feedback from the real couples between 2 dates. So it's within like a year. And it's only those couples who can vote. So it's kind of a level playing field, whether you've done 50 weddings or whether you've done 10, because, you know, it'll tell you the percentage of couples that have voted, and you can see that and you see all their feedback. What I don't like really in awards is like where it's all votes count, it's popularity contest kind of thing. And it's, it's not.
Yeah, because sometimes someone will have 10,000 followers.
Yeah.
And somebody else could just be starting and have 20.
Yeah. What does it show in the long run? Like how many people you can get to vote for you? Like you could get all, you know, Auntie Pat's mates down the bingo to vote for you. They don't even know who you are. No. So, yeah, I don't really like that kind of award, to be honest. It doesn't really sit right with me. I'd rather awards were properly judged by people who know what they're talking about. And obviously
I did look at the judging panel, and it's quite an exclusive panel of judges as well.
It's really good. I mean, you've got Enrique from Have Some Cake, Liz from Cake Buds, Lorianne from Storybook, me, I can't even think who else, Cakes by Yevnig, Emma Woods, who but she's not actually making cakes anymore. There's a couple of cake makers on there who aren't making cakes anymore like me, but they're still judges.
Yeah. But they're people that you look at and you go, yeah, they know their stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
There's someone that I trust to judge me well. Yeah.
And what I like about it now is there's a broader range of judges. At first, a lot of the judges were more, I would say, not more traditional style cakes, sugar flowers and everything like that. Whereas now
you've got Enrique,
Liz from Cake Boards, me, we were more like modern cake makers. So I feel like there's a broader range of judges, which I think is fairer, because, it's not necessarily because you can make beautiful sugar flowers that you're the best cake maker. There's other things to take into account as well.
And it's been going a long time, hasn't it? It's a well-established awards system as well.
I don't know exactly how long it's been going for, but it has been going a long time. But like Damien, who runs it, he's in the wedding industry himself. I think he was a photographer. I don't know if he still is a photographer, but he was. And he obviously started the awards to try to, maybe have a platform that was a fairer way of judging people, because there's so many other wedding awards that are judged purely on votes, and it's I just think what it just doesn't show anything. So it's one of those.
Talking of wedding and wedding supply and wedding places.
Sorry, I just googled it. 2011.
Oh,
okay. Oh, I think it's quite a while. Yeah.
I noticed actually, this isn't on our list of things to talk to you about, but I'm sure you will be happy to talk about it. Recently, the Bride Book report came out again, didn't it?
My favourite. How
are you feeling about that?
The year. Well, I just think it needs to stop.
It needs to stop.
I don't see what value it gives to anyone.
No, the whole Bride Book thing just...
All it does is just narc off every single wedding supplier and give all couples a false sense of what a wedding's going to cost them. So it's like, I did bring it up with them, and I don't know if I'd done that when I spoke to you last time, but I had a sit-down meeting with with one of the marketing people in Bride Book, and I told her all the things I was concerned about and how it wasn't a real... and they promised they were going to survey suppliers and get the real cost of weddings, and I don't think it's ever happened.
Nothing changed, did it?
It does go up a little bit every year, but not...
It's 350 quid now, not 300.
Yeah. Because they were saying one thing to you and taking it off, whatever social media platform it was on, and then putting it on another one. Yeah. So
it just, it's my favourite moment of the year for me to jump on. Usually gets me a good reach on one of my posts anyway, talking about it. But I did kind of break it down a bit more this year, how it was completely ludicrous, almost what it's saying. And, the cost of actually making a cake now has gone through the roof. You're talking, even for a 3-tier cake, the basic iced cake, probably at least 150 quid just to ingredients. So then you've got all your time, and it makes me sad really, because so many cake makers work for not enough for their time. And I see it all the time on cake pricing Facebook groups, and I'm like, why are you working for that? But the thing is, if I tried to step in and advise people, I just get told where to go. I did try the other week with someone who was making these beautiful bento boxes, and I was like, they're gorgeous, and she was charging really low prices for them, and I was just like, people would pay so much more than that, and they're worth it. Your work is really beautiful. She just basically told me to shut up in the end. Just there's no, you're wasting your breath.
I sometimes look at the Facebook groups, and I've had to stop looking at them because it does drive me mad. And it's almost like a new round of cake makers. Every so often there's a new batch of cake makers, and it's that round then wake up and realise that what they're doing isn't going to help them.
At some point,
and then the new lot come in, and and you can't tell some people.
No, you can't. I actually got thrown out of one of those pricing groups a few months ago. Yeah, because I spoke out about it on my Instagram, and I shared the photograph of the cake it wasn't anyone's cake. It was purely an inspiration picture. But I broke the rules, apparently sharing content from outside the group and talking about it. But they just didn't like what I had to say.
No.
And kicked me out of the group, basically. So, I was booted out of one of the cake pricing Facebook groups. But it's just hard, because I want to tell people this is not, you're not going to make any money by doing this.
All you want to do is help. You're just trying to help. But some people...
but it's not helping everybody else either in the cake industry. Like, it's a struggle at the moment, you know, to get orders, because there's so many cheap cake makers out there who aren't pricing properly, making no money, but don't really realise they're making no money because they've not done any like financial planning or any accounts. They will at some point, but then it'll probably be too late. But then they can, and not a lot of them are really talented, you know, but they're charging super low prices. And then cake makers who are, you know, trying to run it as a full-time business and pricing properly, and then faced with, well, you're too expensive, can't afford you, because so-and-so, you know, down the road is doing it at half price. So it's a hard one. And I'll always speak out about pricing. Like, it's something I feel quite strongly about, and educating people. And a lot of my content is around pricing and trying to show people like the way, if you like. But you've got to come to the conclusion yourself and actually do the numbers. And that's what hopefully people who come to work with me have kind of made that realization that things need to change and they want help to change it. But it's a tough one for sure. It's one of my bugbears, but I think it's always going to be the case, isn't it? I'm sure it's the same in every industry. It's probably the same in hairdressing and nails and plumbing and everything. You're going to get people at all different price points. But it is just frustrating because it does impact people who are trying to run their businesses better. And it's sad because you seen so many people close their doors in the last year.
A lot.
And some people who are, you know, you've expected
amazing
at the top
and
of
they've
the
been going
game.
for years.
Like Tracy from Cotton and Crumbs has gone, and a few other people I've seen recently, and it's sad really, because they're walking away from something they love.
I also hate it when the customer comes back to you and is rude to you because you've given them a reasonable price for a cake with your labour and everything, and they're like, well, I'm not paying that, I can get that much cheaper. Ugh, you know, and you think, well, no, go away.
It's just all simmered down from all the people that aren't charging enough, and that's
it is.
We could rant for days.
It's my favourite topic.
Right, well, you have got a very busy couple of months coming up. Thank you so much for coming to chat to us today. If our listeners want to come and find you, where should they be going to? Where are they heading to? Your website and your socials and stuff?
So you can find me on Instagram as @thecakebusinessclub. I'm the same on Facebook as well. And the website is thecakebusinessclub.co.uk. I don't know if it's possible I can drop you a little link to like people to put themselves on the waiting list for the foundations course. If you can put that in the show notes, that would be great.
No worries.
So I've got a kind of waiting list for that as well. And on the website you can find out details about the club, and if that floats your boat, you can pop yourself on the waiting list, and you know, I'll reach out to you and see if it's something that you would benefit from right now, and obviously we can have a chat. But it's been absolutely lovely to talk to you both. I would regularly I'll come on the podcast every month. I'll be your third wheel. I can be standing if any of you are ever poorly.
Well, we won't leave it 2 years next time. We'll have you sooner than 2 years next time.
I didn't realise it had been 2 years, to be honest. It doesn't feel like 2 years ago.
Mad, isn't it?
No.
Absolutely mad. But we will definitely have you back, and much sooner than 2 years' time. But thank you so much for coming and chatting today.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
As always, I love Kate. She's
so lovely. And she's another one. You could just talk for hours. Hours and hours. Yeah. There are some guests that we have that we just have to have back every year, really.
Oh, definitely. She's she knows her stuff as well.
Yes.
I want to say she knows her shit.
Say it.
Yeah,
say it.
I've said it.
So I went into the Cake Business Club, was it 2-3 weeks ago? And chatting about the Cake Shed. Yeah, it was just so lovely. And the members there are so lovely. Yeah. And I think that's what's nice, is that it's a proper community.
Well, that's the
and you
same
feel like everyone
on her
is supporting.
Facebook group, a Cake Collective. Everyone is really nice. They're all chatting, and it's full on. It's a really good group.
Yeah. You feel like it's a support, and
everybody's
that's
nice.
what this industry needs.
Yeah,
that's what this industry
definitely
needs. So thank you, Kate, for coming.
Yes, thank
and
you.
we will have you back again.
Thank you very
Definitely
much.
have you back again. Yeah. Right. Thank you. If you want to hear more of us, because we're wonderful. If you want to hear more of us, head over to patreon.com/the Business of Cake Making podcast. There's a product of the week. Top tip. I will get that right one day. I get it wrong every time. Product of the week.
Yeah.
Oh, look, she's teasing you again. She's teasing.
Top tips. So yeah, come over and have a listen.
More of our chatter. Please come and listen to us because we love you all.
Yes, definitely.
But until then,
ba 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 ba.